This tutorial is going to give you some quick guidance on the resources you should be using to prepare for the upcoming assessment, which in this case is going to be on the hydrosphere topic and part of the climate change topic. Now, it's important that when you are revising, you first of all identify the key learning outcomes for the topics that you're being assessed on. Second of all, that you look at the material both in your class notes in them, as well as any study guides that you've been provided by your teacher in order to revise the core content. And finally, that you have practiced some of these exam questions. As this is a timed assessment, you won't be given unlimited time to complete these questions. I would also strongly recommend, as we go through this tutorial, that you prepare your own flashcards or revision notes around each of the main learning outcomes in this topic in order to be able to review at a later date, not just before the assessment, but before the prelim exams in January, as well as the final exam that comes up at the end of the year. And if you do that preparation now, it'll be to your benefit later on in the course. So let's start by looking at what resources you can use. The first thing to look at is the revision checklist, which you will find in the Google Classroom right here. Now, the revision checklist, there is a short video on how to use the video checklist, which you're free to use and watch at your own leisure. However, it's quite straightforward. It's a Google sheet that outlines every single topic, split into the 3 main units, and all of the learning outcomes that go with that topic. So I'm just opening up the checklist right now, which you can do so yourself in your own Google Classroom to allow you to see all of these different learning outcomes. The first thing to pay attention to is at the bottom of the screen, because, as you're going to see, it is broken into 3 tabs. So it's just loading up right now, and we'll see those 3 tabs shortly. So whilst we're on this first tab, which is the physical environment section of the course, you will see the 4 main topics. There is atmosphere, biosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere, which is divided into 2 sections, glacial and coastal. Now, in this particular assessment, you are going to be assessed on hydrosphere. So you could be asked questions on any of these 4 main learning outcomes. If I just make this a bit larger so you can see, we can have a little look at those 4 main learning outcomes. So there they are. You are free to tick any of these off as you revise them, and it's strongly advised you create your own notes, whether that's flashcards or notes in any other form that you'd like to take that helps you learn, that surround these 4 key aspects. Any of these 4 features could be examined for an 8 to 10 mark question. You obviously have the option to draw a diagram to explain that. You may be asked to use a diagram or may be asked to explain how water moves within the global hydrological cycle. You may be asked to explore the human and physical factors that can influence water as it moves through a drainage basin, or in this case, a river system. Or finally, you might be asked to describe and explain patterns of change in a river's discharge using a hydrograph. Right, that is hydrosphere. You will see at the bottom, there is also in paper 1, human environments, and paper 1 comprises of 100 marks, 50 of which come from questions in this area, covering these 4 topics, and 50 that comes from the human environments. You'll be doing assessments in the human environments topics later on in the course. The other part of the assessment comes from paper 2, which is a different exam paper. It's always sat on the same day as paper 1. Normally 15 minutes after you finish paper 1, you'll go and sit paper 2. Now, in this particular session, you're only going to be asked to do climate change as your global issue, along with this other topic called applied geographical skills. In previous exam sessions, every student has also been required to do a second global issue, but due to the current constraints of COVID-19, the exam board has specified that students only have to tackle one of the global issues topics and the applied geographical skills. That makes this slightly shorter. Now, in this assessment, you are only going to be asked to answer a question that is either physical or human causes of climate change. At higher, it's never both. It's generally one or the other, and that could be an 8 to 10 mark question. So you really need to know your knowledge. Right, so that covers the main learning outcomes for climate change that you're going to be assessed. And just remind you, it's just going to be on this one. You will be assessed on the other 2 outcomes later on in the course, as well as the 4 outcomes for hydrosphere. And it's worthwhile noting down each of them on different bits of paper or on one piece of paper so you know what it is you need to revise. Let's now have a look at where you can access information to help you prepare for that. The first place to look is the How to Pass study guide that you were given. Now, this is a quick check-in, provides you with some nice bullet point notes and can be used to supplement those that you took in class. And the Hydrosphere topic appears on page 11 of this revision booklet, so you might want to go and find that booklet now. And you'll see that from page 11, we start with the V-shaped valley, and we move all the way through the different themes that make up this topic, all of the way to page 20. And on page 20, 19 and 20, you can also see some examples of exam questions that you can practice. So the How to Pass booklet is one source of study and revision material. You may, and I would strongly recommend, start also practicing and timing yourself practicing questions and papers. So if you want to note this down, when you look in this booklet, you will see questions in a range of places that cover this. If you actually turn to page V111 or number 8 in Roman numerals, you'll see the different questions that appear from the Hydrosphere. And as you skip through the pages, and I'm just going to do that with you now, you will see there's some Hydrosphere questions on page 3 and page 4. And those are just practice Hydrosphere questions that you can practice in your own time. And once you have practiced them, you might choose to look up an answer to them to see if you've written the right material. So if you do then turn to pages 24, you will see some model answers to those questions that you saw earlier. If you then want to look at some real exam questions, you can practice the 2 different practice papers, specifically the Hydrosphere questions that go with these. So there is a Hydrosphere question on page 32. There's actually 2. Questions 3 and 4 are Hydrosphere questions in practice paper A. Likewise, if you turn to practice paper B, you'll also find some Hydrosphere questions, and they appear as question 1, which is a Hydrosphere question on a hydrograph. Right, once again, those 2 practice papers have model exam answers at the back section, which you will find starting on page 56. Now you can rewind this video at any point you want to hear the page numbers, or you can just look at these 2 revision, the How to Pass and the question and papers hydrography exam practice booklet that I'm showing you on your screen. It's strongly recommended you do that. And if you are going to time yourself, as a rule of thumb, for every mark you want to spend around about 1 minute. So a 10-mark question, you're looking to spend about 10 minutes and no more than 12 minutes for a 10-mark question. So you can give yourself a couple of minutes over the actual marks allocation. And that is a general rule of thumb, although some students sometimes spend a bit longer on certain types of questions and less time on others, depending on difficulty. Okay, where else should you be going? Well, by the time you are watching this, you will have finished or close to finishing your topic areas, certainly Hydrosphere, and you want to use your master note set where all of your Hydrosphere class notes are. You may not have done this for climate change, as you're just being assessed on the first part of this unit. So you'll want to go to the sections of the climate change topic in the here. So it would be number 2, causes, and have a look at the physical and human causes. You are also, you'll notice in the revision section, a number 1 geography revision has been put up with a couple of really nice learning videos from the Time for Geography team who have made these 2 films on human causes and the natural causes of climate change. And they are really useful ways of revising in a very visual way these 2 central themes. So that's up purely there for you to use. You can also use these to build your own revision notes if you so choose. And finally, lastly, the Geography Revision website, which I'm also now going to open. So this is a huge resource that can be used for any topic area, and in it there are lots and lots of different tutorials on the different themes that make up the hydrography course. And if I just give you a quick little look at how you can use this and what's on offer. So you will see on the home page, paper 1 and paper 2. And of course, this assessment is covering questions that cover both. So you are doing a paper 1 Hydrosphere. And if we just click on that, we can have a quick little look at what that looks like. I do suggest right now you might want to pause this and open up the Geography Revision website yourself. You will see another sort of shortened version of the checklist of things you need to know for this topic. You'll see lots of practice papers You'll see a number of model answers covering the hydrosphere topic, and you'll see a full revision video with me narrating most of the themes that cover this particular topic area. If we go and have a look at number 2 on climate change, we'll see a similar thing with a checklist, some past paper questions, and some model answers. And there we are. There's the checklist, there's the past paper questions, there's some model answers. And those are the 2 videos I was showing you a second ago from the Time for Geography team, along with some tutorials that I've put together that actually model how to write exam answers for physical causes and human causes. And you'll see part 1 and 2. So that's a narrated video where I outline how you approach writing an exam answer to those. So that concludes this tutorial. You've been given lots of opportunity to succeed. Now, if you follow the guidance and use all the resources, that you give yourself the best possible chance to achieve the standard that you are aiming at.